You need to know how to count triplets, but I find that a lot of students have trouble doing that. So I'm going to show you today how to count the eighth note triplet and the quarter note triplet. Your piano teacher Tim here, and let's get right on into it. Okay, so here we have the elusive triplet, and I'm going to show you how to count them, of course. So if you don't know by now how like time signatures work, how simple rhythms like the quarter note works, half note, things like that, make sure you check out the link in the description I have for you, and then come back to this wonderful lesson. So like any other rhythm, if it occurs right on the beat, which is like right in the beginning here, it's going to be number one, or whatever beat that you're on. Then what you want to do is it's counted then by triplet. So one triplet, one triplet, one triplet, one triplet, just like that. So just practice that. Now I just kind of want to explain what's going on here. Is the idea on why we want to do this is that we are splitting up each note into three even, very important here, three even parts. So you know, like when you had quarter notes, you would just count that as one, and then when you have eighth notes, all right, we're going to leave that in there. Eighth notes, you are counting it as the number plus and. These are called duplets because you are splitting things into dos, or twos rather. And then with a triplet, you are splitting them up into threes. So we need like counting methods to account for each of those. So one and then one triplet. Very even on the triplets. You can't go one triplet or one triplet or anything like that. One triplet. Okay, let's just practice a couple of measures of triplets combined with other rhythms just to make sure we got it, and then I'll show you the quarter note triplets. Okay, here I have a rhythm for you. So let's take a look here. You got beat one. And by the way, I love bringing this tip up in all the rhythm lessons, but if you don't know how the flags work with these notes and why they are, or the beams work rather, I should say, it is to, most of the time, 99% of the time, to signify that these together equal one beat. So you got the both eighth notes together, that's one beat. That must mean that this tells us is that this must be the beginning of beat two, and this must be three. And if you know anything about half notes, they take up two beats, so three, and then also four there. So use the beams to your advantage. So you got one and then two triplet, and then three. I would even count these as three and four and. So it's going to be counted as such. Here we go. One and two triplet, three and four and. Now, you know, I'm going to grab the old-timey metronome, and we're going to use that one, because why else use it? Remember we had to wind stuff up? That was weird. So we're going to use a metronome. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want to use this with the rhythm that we wrote. Well, it's so annoying. And we're going to count it together. So here we go. Now, the reason we want to use a metronome with this is because the metronome will make sure that we are not changing our tempo from duplets to triplets, which is super freaking common, believe me. So here we go. I'm going to start it up. We're going to kind of count it off, and then I'm going to count the rhythm on the piano and hope everything goes well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 triplet, 3 and 4 and. Oh, that's too fast. All right, we're gonna go on beat one. Ready, go. 1 and 2 triplet, 3, 4. 1 and 2 triplet, 3, 4. That was even a little bit on the slower side for me. So the whole idea is to then use the metronome to just make sure that you're not changing the note values. Now on to quarter note triplets. So now I'm going to teach you quarter note triplets. So one thing I didn't mention about eighth note triplets or any triplet is whatever note value it is, so eighth note triplet, it's equal to, in terms of how many beats it takes up, it's equal to one note value above that one. So if it's eighth note, it's going to take up the value of a quarter note. If it's a quarter note, which by the way, quarter note's worth one beat. If it's a quarter note triplet, it's going to take up the value of a half note, since that's the next one up. If you had a half note triplet, it would take up the value of a whole note. So I think you get the idea. Okay, this one is the trickiest of all to count. But the way I would think about it, right, is if we can have one triplet in place of one note, this is basically like two of them put together. So let me show you what I mean by that, because you're probably confused like I was when I first heard about this. So what we're going to do is we're going to write out two beats of triplets in terms of their syllables. So that would be one triplet, two triplet, just like that. So one triplet, two triplet, just like that. Now we have two beats of triplets. So what we're going to do now is, since each of these is worth twice as much of the eighth notes in the eighth note triplet, now instead of taking up one syllable each like the eighth note would, it's going to take up two of them. So you're going to hold this for the one tri, and then the next one hits on plet 2 because that takes up two of them. So the first quarter note in the quarter note triplet takes up one tri, which is two of them, and then the next one is plet 2, and then triplet will be the last quarter note triplet, which I can't say very well, but here we go. So this is going to sound like this: one triplet, two triplet, and then you might have 3 4, like that. So when you start putting this with other rhythms, just make sure again you are using the metronome to make sure that you are evenly dividing these. So for each click on the metronome, right, so long as you're in a simple time signature, you're going to be breaking it down into threes. So in one click, you got to go one for each one triplet, two triplet, and then you got to line up the notes appropriately in the quarter note triplet, which can be really tricky. If you want to know other tips on how to count rhythms accurately and better than ever before, check out this playlist right here. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You have all notifications turned on because we have new lessons coming out all the time. You don't want to miss a beat. It's been your piano teacher, Tim, here. Thanks so much for coming by today, and I'm going to see you in the next lesson.